can you guys touch on the divide in the content creator world? Vibe coders versus software developers. I'm seeing so much hate on vibe coding. They're convinced you can't deliver quality products to people if you don't know how to code. Is that ego or fear talking or truth?
I would say
Interesting.
that is a combination of all three to some extent. I think that mostly fear-led, if I'm frank with you. I've noticed that when there's a new technology shows promise, lots of people are really quick to shit on it and point out the flaws. Anybody can point out the flaws. Criticizing something requires the lowest level of IQ possible. Actually using it and seeing the potential is something completely different. As with all things, it's easy to get to 80%. Closing the last 20% is where all the intelligence lies. There are people, remember, pessimists sound smart, optimists are the ones who make money. So the reality, and I can tell you this having done businesses myself, is that you can effectively build anything you imagine now. And if people who are denying that are wrong, it's just not true. Do you still want expertise to look at certain things? Yeah, of course you do. When you get to a certain scale and level of operation, yeah, for sure. But it's more of a light touch. It's not whole system up from the ground. So Claude Code itself was coded with Claude, if you want proof of that thing existing. So yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't expend any mental energy debating it. Either they get on board and learn or they don't. So it's like, I always prefer to go in the direction people who are leaning into learning versus complaining about the thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, one of my friends and a guy that I did a podcast with, I guess over a year ago, when my channel was still pretty small, Mark, he makes content about WordPress, and he's posted in our comments many times before. And Mark, if you're hearing this, cool guy, man, I can't wait to chat again. But I remember he made some video, and it was about how you could like use AI to do a lot of the same things that WordPress did. And he received like a lot of vitriol and hate from old school WordPress and PHP developers that were convinced that like this whole AI thing does absolutely nothing. And it's trash. And, you know, we even having a conversation about it, and it was like, man, it's like fighting like a freaking tsunami, you know, like they just do not get it. And there's nothing I can do to like deflect that tsunami. And then a couple days later, he sent me a screenshot of an email that he'd received from one of the people that had just previously left the most terrible vitriolic comment on one of his videos. And as opposed to it being like, this is shit, blah, 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 it was like, hey, Mark, thanks for showing me this technology. There's a lot more potential in it than I thought, or something along those lines. And I'm seeing how I can actually implement it. And so I don't know how many people's minds actually get changed. And I don't know what proportion of those people feel motivated enough to actually reach out to the original content creator that like talked about something. But I'm convinced that if you just continue talking about something that you do truly believe has value, you know, like you can't convince somebody, but they can convince themselves, you know, just seeing how it plays out in the real world and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the people that end up winning will, you know, they will eventually figure it out sooner rather than later, because they just kind of have to, right?
100%. Remember, if it feels uncomfortable, that's a great thing. That's where learning happens. You don't get through this whole game without making mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes. You just got to learn and get better every time. That's all that matters. Is, oh, what are you going to do differently today than you did yesterday?
True.